The twin suns were setting over the great silver towers of the Galactic Academy of Knowledge. The Academy was the largest learning place in the galaxy, where young minds from hundreds of worlds came to study. Strange alien ships floated above the landing pads, dropping off students of every shape, size, and color. Some had crystal-like skin that sparkled in the light. Some had wings folded neatly behind their backs, and others floated without touching the ground. They all came for one reason: to learn about the galaxy and its many worlds. But that day, something was different. Whispers ran through the crowd like an invisible wave. "Have you heard? There's a human coming," one student hissed, his antennae trembling. Another pulled her cloak tighter and muttered, "A human? From that planet?" The word passed from one alien to another. Earth, the Deathworld, a place every alien child had heard about in warnings and stories. A planet where the ground could shake, the sky could burn, and creatures with teeth sharper than steel roamed freely. In one of the docking bays, a tall, lean figure stepped out of a small silver shuttle. He wore a simple dark jacket, his hair slightly messy from the flight. Two piercing eyes scanned the area with calm focus. This was Ethan, the human exchange student. Around him, alien students shuffled back nervously, giving him more space than needed. Some looked curious, others afraid. But no one spoke to him. The head instructor, a tall alien with 4 arms and skin like polished stone, approached. "Welcome to the Academy, student Ethan." The voice was deep and smooth, but the instructor's many eyes studied him carefully. Ethan nodded politely. "Thank you, sir." It was a simple greeting. But some alien students felt a strange chill hearing the human's voice. They had been told humans were tough, unpredictable, and somehow still alive despite living on the most dangerous planet known to the Galactic Union. Later, in the main hall, the students gathered for the opening speech. The air was filled with the hum of alien technology and the low chatter of voices. The instructor raised a hand for silence. "This year," he began, "we will explore worlds unlike our own. We will learn survival, adaptation, and understanding between species." He paused, letting his many eyes sweep across the room. "And, for the first time in our history, we will visit Earth itself." Gasps and murmurs spread like wildfire. A small feathered alien squeaked, "You mean the Deathworld? We will go there?" Another, with scales shimmering under the lights, whispered, "Why would anyone go to a place like that?" The instructor continued, "Our Earthborn student will guide you in understanding his world." All eyes turned toward Ethan. He stood straight, hands in his pockets, his expression calm but unreadable. Some alien students expected him to smile or reassure them, but he did neither. Instead, he simply said, "If you want to understand Earth, you must see it for yourself." That night in the dorm halls, alien students gathered in small groups. They spoke in hushed voices, trading stories they had heard about Earth. One said, "I heard the oceans are full of monsters bigger than our ships." Another added, "I heard the air itself can kill you if you breathe it in the wrong place." Someone else shuddered, "And the humans? They have survived all that." The more they talked, the more they felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Ethan, alone in his assigned room, sat on his bed and looked out the window. He could see the twin suns dipping below the horizon, casting golden light across the alien city. He had been to many places in the galaxy, but this was different. Here, everyone saw him not as just another student, but as a living example of something dangerous. He knew the trip to Earth would not only test the alien students, it would test him as well, because showing them the truth about his home meant letting them see the beauty and the danger. And danger was something Earth had plenty of. In the silence of the night, the Academy's intercom crackled with the next day's schedule. "Attention students, preparations for the Earth expedition will begin at dawn." Across the halls, excitement and dread mixed in the hearts of many, but for Ethan, it was simply the first step in showing the galaxy why his world was called the Deathworld. The morning light in the Galactic Academy was soft and pale, drifting through tall crystal windows. The classrooms were filled with the quiet hum of floating data screens, each displaying alien symbols and star maps. Alien students gathered for their first lesson about Earth, their voices low, their eyes glancing nervously toward the human seated at the back. Ethan sat still, his hands folded on the desk, watching without speaking. To him, this was just another classroom, but to the others, it felt like sitting next to a predator. The instructor entered. A thin alien with long silver tendrils that swayed gently as it moved. Without a word, it tapped a glowing panel, and the screens came alive with images of Earth, mountains taller than clouds, deep green forests stretching beyond sight, vast deserts of red sand, and dark oceans that seemed endless. A small gasp escaped from a student with soft blue skin and 4 blinking eyes. "Your planet has so many dangerous places," she whispered. The instructor turned. "Yes. And they are all inhabited by creatures that have adapted to survive them." The images shifted, showing massive storms swirling over oceans. Bolts of lightning tore the sky in two. Waves higher than buildings crashed against rocky shores. On another screen, a volcano erupted, spitting rivers of fire into the sky. Several alien students flinched at the sight. Ethan watched their reactions, his voice calm when he finally spoke. "This is normal for us," he said. "We grow up with storms, with heat, with cold. Earth teaches you to be ready for anything." One small alien with translucent wings raised a hand. "But why not leave? Why stay on a world that wants to kill you?" Ethan gave a faint smile. "Because it's home, and because danger makes you stronger." The class went silent, some staring at him like he was insane, others quietly wondering if there was truth in his words. The instructor then showed images of Earth's animals. A snow leopard moving silently through the mountains, a great white shark cutting through dark water, a snake coiling around a branch with silent patience. The alien students shifted in their seats, some leaning forward, others leaning away. "These are not even the most dangerous creatures," the instructor said. "These are just the ones we can show safely." Ethan's eyes glinted slightly. "And remember, humans live alongside all of them." After the lesson, the class was taken to the Academy's training hall. Here, holographic simulations could create any environment in the galaxy. The instructor activated a program labeled Earth Level 1. The floor shimmered, and suddenly the students stood in the middle of a dense green forest. The sound of birds and insects filled the air. The ground was damp, the air heavy with moisture. Alien students looked around in awe, touching tree bark, brushing aside leaves. "This is beautiful," one of them said softly. Ethan glanced at her. "Yes, but beauty can be deadly here." A loud screech echoed through the simulation, making several students jump. Something rustled in the tall grass nearby. The hologram projected a large shape moving between the trees, low to the ground, its eyes glowing. Some aliens froze, others stepped back, their instincts telling them to run. Ethan simply crouched and picked up a stick, holding it loosely in his hand. "It's only a jaguar," he said. "If you don't panic, you're safe." Mostly, the simulation shifted again, showing a dry desert under a blazing sun. Heat shimmered on the horizon, and a dust storm began to form in the distance. The alien students shielded their eyes, coughing from the dry air. "This is where you learn to travel at night when it's cooler," Ethan explained. "The day will burn you. The night will freeze you." When the simulation ended, the students returned to the clean white floor of the training hall. Most of them were sweating, even though it had only been a program. Their minds were buzzing with images of storms, predators, and strange lands. One bold alien with golden scales approached Ethan. You are not afraid of these things?" Ethan looked at him calmly. "Afraid? Of course, but fear is not the same as weakness on Earth. Fear keeps you alive." That evening, the alien students gathered in the common lounge. They spoke about the lesson, some in awe, some in fear. "I thought my planet's ice storms were bad," one said, "but Earth has storms that can tear cities apart." "And the animals," another shivered. We can't even survive some of them for a minute." Through the noise of the conversations, one quiet thought began to grow among them. If humans could survive such a world, what else were they capable of? Ethan, sitting apart from the crowd, sipped a warm drink from a small cup. He could feel their eyes on him, their curiosity mixing with fear. He knew this was only the beginning. The real test would come when they set foot on Earth itself, and that was when they would truly understand why it was called the Deathworld. The day of departure came faster than anyone expected. The Galactic Academy's launch bays buzzed with activity as crews prepared the expedition ship. It was larger than a cargo hauler, its hull plated with layers of heat-resistant alloy, bright. Warning symbols ran along its sides, marking it as an extreme hazard vessel. Alien students stood in small groups, clutching travel packs and whispering nervously. Ethan arrived last, walking with his usual calm. He wore a plain travel jacket and sturdy boots, a small bag slung over one shoulder. Some students glanced at him, then quickly looked away. It was strange. He wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the strongest, yet there was something about him that made others feel uneasy. The instructor's voice boomed through the docking bay. "Students, today you travel to Earth. You will observe, learn, and survive. Remember, safety comes first. Follow all instructions, and stay with the group." The ship's boarding ramp lowered with a hiss of steam. One by one, the students stepped inside, their footsteps echoing. In the metal corridor, inside, the ship was lined with seats facing wide observation windows. As they strapped in, Ethan chose a seat near the center, not too close to the front or back. The engines hummed to life, a low vibration running through the floor. The ship lifted smoothly from the bay, rising above the Academy's shining towers. Through the windows, alien students watched the twin suns shrink into the distance. The journey began in silence, but soon the screens lit up with navigation data. Earth's image appeared, a swirling ball of blue, green, and white. Some students leaned forward, studying it. "It looks peaceful," one muttered. Ethan glanced at the screen and smirked faintly. "It only looks that way from here." Hours passed as the ship crossed the stars. The instructor explained the plan. They would land in a remote region of Earth where nature ruled and human cities were far away. This, the instructor said, would give them a true understanding of the planet's untamed nature. Alien students exchanged uneasy looks. Most had never set foot on a world without protective domes or stable climates. As they neared the solar system, the ship adjusted course. The view of Earth grew larger, its swirling clouds now hiding and revealing vast oceans. The students watched as lightning flashed inside a storm, the size of their entire home continents. "That's only a small one," Ethan said, his tone casual. Several students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Approach alarms began to sound softly. The ship entered the planet's atmosphere, and at once the ride grew rough. The vessel shook as if giant hands were gripping it. Waves of heat washed over the hull, making it glow faintly in the upper layers. Alien students gripped their harnesses, some letting out startled cries as turbulence rocked them. "This is normal," Ethan assured, his voice calm over the noise. "You get used to it. Or you don't." The clouds swallowed them, and the windows blurred with sheets of rain. Wind howled against the ship's hull. Lightning flashed so close it lit up the entire cabin. Down below, they could make out jagged mountains, dark forests, and rivers that twisted like silver snakes. The instructor's voice crackled through the speakers. "We are approaching the landing site. Prepare for rough terrain." When the ship touched down, it did not land on a smooth pad but on a muddy clearing surrounded by towering trees. The engines hissed as they powered down, steam rising into the wet air. The ramp lowered, and a wave of heavy, humid air rolled inside. Several alien students coughed at the sudden change. Ethan was the first to step out, his boots sinking slightly into the soft earth. He looked around, taking in the dense green canopy and the constant sound of dripping water. One by one, the alien students followed. They stared up at the trees that seemed to reach forever into The sky, strange bird calls echoed above, and something rustled in the undergrowth. This is alive, one alien whispered in awe. Ethan nodded. Everything here is alive. And everything here is watching. As the group moved away from the ship, the ground squelched beneath their feet. Insects buzzed past their faces, some large enough to make the smaller aliens flinch. A distant roar rolled through the forest. Deep and powerful. What was that? A winged student asked, his voice trembling. Ethan simply said, something big. And probably hungry. The instructor led them toward a shallow river, its water rushing over smooth stones. Stay close. The current can sweep you away, the instructor warned. Several aliens laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, until one stepped too close, and the water nearly pulled them in. Ethan grabbed the student's arm and yanked them back. Never underestimate anything here, he said firmly. Even the water can kill you. As the sun began to set, the forest shifted. The air cooled slightly, but the sounds grew louder. Calls, chirps, and howls blending into an eerie chorus. The alien students huddled closer together. For them, this was the edge of the unknown. For Ethan, it was simply home that night. Under the deep shadows of Earth's wilderness, they made camp near the ship. The alien students could not sleep easily, every sound making them twitch. Ethan sat by the fire, his eyes scanning the darkness beyond the light. He knew that this was just the beginning. The Deathworld had many lessons left to teach them. The sun rose slowly over the rainforest, spilling golden light through the thick leaves above. Mist hung in the air, curling around tree trunks like soft ghosts. The alien students stirred in their sleeping pods, their eyes heavy from a night of restless dreams. Some had barely slept at all, their minds still haunted by the strange noises from the darkness. Ethan was already awake, crouched near the small fire he had built before dawn. He was roasting something that looked like a root, the smell earthy and sharp. One of the winged students approached, rubbing his eyes. What is that? Breakfast. Ethan replied simply, breaking the root in half and tossing one piece to him. The alien sniffed it suspiciously. Is it safe? Ethan's lips curved in the faintest smile. You'll find out. The instructor clapped his hands to gather everyone's attention. Today, we begin our first exploration of the area. Stay close to your guides, watch where you step, and listen for warnings. Some alien students nodded eagerly, while others looked pale and unsure. They formed a single line, following Ethan and the instructor into the dense undergrowth. The ground was soft and uneven, each step sinking slightly into the damp soil. Vines hung down like ropes, some so thick they looked like living cables. Ethan moved easily, using a small blade to cut through plants blocking the path. The alien students tried to copy his steps, but they stumbled often, brushing against leaves that left red marks on their skin. They passed a patch of flowers glowing faintly in the dim light. A small alien reached to touch one, but Ethan caught his wrist. Don't, he said firmly. They look pretty, but the sap will burn your skin. The alien swallowed hard and stepped back, realizing beauty on Earth could be dangerous. After an hour of walking, the group reached a shallow stream. The water was clear, and fish darted between smooth stones. One alien bent down to scoop a drink with his hands. Ethan blocked him. Don't drink it unless you boil it first. The water here can hide things that will make you very sick. The alien blinked in surprise. On his home world, water was always pure. As they moved on, the forest grew louder. Bird calls echoed from above. Insects hummed in the heat, and somewhere far away, a deep roar rolled through the air. Some students froze, looking around nervously. What was that? One whispered. Ethan's eyes scanned the trees. Something you don't want to meet, he said. Let's keep moving. Midday brought heavier heat, the air thick and wet, clinging to every breath. Some aliens slowed, unused to such heavy humidity. Ethan noticed one student swaying on his feet, his skin turning a dull color. Without a word, Ethan pulled him into the shade. gave him water, and told him to rest. "This planet doesn't care if you're strong," Ethan said quietly. "It only cares if you adapt." The path narrowed as they reached a small cliff. Below, the forest stretched out like a sea of green. Broken by the glitter of a winding river, they began the slow descent, gripping roots and rocks to keep from slipping. One alien lost his footing, and for a terrifying moment, he dangled over the edge. Ethan moved fast, catching his arm and pulling him back. The alien's eyes were wide. "You saved me," Ethan only shrugged. "Stay alert, and you won't need saving." By late afternoon, the forest began to change. The ground became marshy, the air filled with the croaks and clicks of hidden creatures. Strange shapes moved just beneath the water's surface, their eyes breaking the surface before vanishing again. One alien pointed. "Are those safe?" Ethan didn't slow his pace. "No," he said simply. "Nothing here is safe unless you make it safe." They stopped to rest in a clearing, the sunlight breaking through just enough to warm their chilled skin. The instructor handed out ration packs, but Ethan walked a little way into the trees and returned with a handful of bright orange fruit. He tossed one to a nearby student. "Try it. Just watch the seeds. They're sharp." The alien bit into it cautiously, then smiled in surprise. "It's sweet." Ethan gave a small nod. "Earth isn't only dangerous. It can give you something good if you know how to find it." As evening fell, they began the walk back to camp. The forest shadows grew longer, and the sounds changed. The daytime calls of birds faded, replaced by the deeper growls and rustling of night hunters. The aliens moved closer together, their eyes darting toward every movement. Ethan walked at the back, keeping watch, his hand never far from the knife at his belt. By the time they returned to camp, the sky was streaked with red and gold. The fire was lit again, casting flickering light on tired but wide-eyed faces. The alien students spoke in low voices about what they had seen. Some admitted they had been scared, others said they were amazed. Ethan sat quietly, sharpening his blade. He knew that this had only been a small taste of Earth. The Deathworld had far more to show them and far more to test. Asterisk. Darkness fell fast over the rainforest. One moment the trees glowed gold in the sunset, and the next they were swallowed by deep shadows. The air grew cooler, but heavier, thick with the scent of wet earth and leaves. The alien students sat close to the fire in camp, their eyes wide, their ears twitching at every sound. Ethan sat a little apart from them, sharpening his knife with slow, steady strokes. His movements were calm, but his eyes kept scanning the tree line. The instructor paced near the edge of the camp, holding a light rod that glowed pale blue. "Stay inside the perimeter," the instructor warned. "Night is when the Deathworld truly wakes." The first sounds came from above, soft flapping, wings that brushed the air like whispers. A shape darted past the firelight, gone before anyone could see it clearly. One of the smaller aliens gasped. "What was that?" Ethan glanced upward. "Bats," he said simply. "They won't hurt you unless you make them." But the bats were only the beginning. From the forest came a low, rolling growl that made the ground vibrate faintly. It was followed by a high-pitched screech from somewhere far away, then silence, the kind of silence that made the hair rise on the back of your neck. The fire crackled, sending sparks into the dark. Insects began their chorus, a steady hum that seemed to come from everywhere. The alien students huddled closer, their faces lit in flickering orange. One of them whispered, "Why is it so loud?" Ethan's voice was quiet. "Because everything here is alive, and everything is hunting." Suddenly, a sharp rustle came from the bushes behind the camp. A student jumped to his feet, clutching a long stick. The instructor raised a hand, signaling for stillness. The sound grew closer, and a moment later, a long, shadowy shape slid out from the leaves. Its body glistened under the firelight, thick scales. Slow and deliberate movement, eyes like cold amber. "A python," Ethan murmured. "It's just passing through." The snake moved across the camp's edge, ignoring the students completely. But its sheer size made several aliens step back in alarm. When it vanished back into the darkness, the camp exhaled in relief. "Remember that," Ethan said, his tone steady. "Not everything here attacks without reason, but everything can." As the hours passed, the temperature dropped further. The fire became the only real comfort against the creeping chill. Ethan added more wood, the flames flaring high for a moment before settling again. The alien students spoke little, their voices hushed every now and then. They would hear something, branches snapping, the splash of water from the river, or distant howls that rose and fell like ghostly calls. Near midnight, a sudden scream tore through the night. It was not human. It was sharper, higher, filled with raw pain. Several students covered their ears, their faces pale. "What was that?" one asked, his voice shaking. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Something getting caught. Or something being hunted." The instructor decided to place 2 students on watch at a time. Rotating every hour, Ethan took the first shift without hesitation. Standing at the camp's edge with his knife in hand, the blue light rod cast a small glow around him. But beyond that was only blackness. His ears caught every sound, his eyes searching for movement. From the shadows, he saw the glint of 2 eyes low to the ground, moving slowly. He didn't call out or panic. Instead, he crouched and tossed a burning stick toward them. The glowing eyes blinked, then disappeared into the dark. The alien student beside him swallowed hard. "What was that?" Ethan didn't answer right away. "Doesn't matter, it's gone for now." The night stretched on, long and heavy. Some students dozed in their pods, but most lay awake, flinching at noises in the darkness. Earth felt endless, its dangers invisible but always near. Ethan kept his post until the first faint glow of dawn touched the sky. As the sun rose, the forest came alive again. Bird calls filled the air, monkeys chattered in the distance, and insects buzzed with renewed energy. The alien students stepped out of their pods, looking tired but relieved. For them, the night had been a trial they would never forget. For Ethan, it had been just another night on the Deathworld. The morning began differently. The alien students noticed the instructor was quieter than usual, his expression unreadable. Even Ethan, who rarely looked surprised, studied him with curiosity. They finished their simple breakfast, the fire's smoke curling into the cool morning air. Then the instructor stood and addressed the group. "Today," he said slowly, "you will return to the ship without me." The aliens exchanged startled glances. "You will work together, using what you have learned." The instructor continued, "This is your survival test. Earth will be your teacher." One student blurted out, "Alone, without you?" The instructor's gaze shifted to Ethan. "Not entirely alone. Your human classmate will go with you, but he will not lead unless he must." The aliens turned to look at Ethan. He stood with his hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the group. "This isn't a game," he said flatly. "If you treat it like one, you'll get hurt." No one argued, but their faces showed doubt. They packed quickly, carrying only basic gear, water containers, small knives and energy bars. Ethan carried a simple pack with rope, a small cooking pot, and a few tools. He did not look worried, but the alien students could feel the weight of the task ahead. The path began through dense forest, the sunlight breaking into pieces through the leaves above. At first, they walked easily, talking in low voices, but Earth did not take long to remind them that comfort was a luxury. A sudden patch of mud trapped one alien's foot. He struggled, sinking deeper, panic rising in his voice. "Stop moving," Ethan ordered, stepping forward. He lay flat, spreading his weight, and used a branch to pull the student free. "That's called quickmud," he explained. "It'll swallow you if you fight it the wrong way." The group moved on, their pace slower. Soon, they reached a river wider and faster than the one near camp. The water roared as it rushed between jagged rocks. "We can't cross that," one alien said nervously. Ethan scanned the bank, then pointed upstream. "There's a fallen tree there. We can use it." Balancing across the slick trunk was harder than they expected. Halfway over, a winged alien lost his footing and slipped. The group froze, but Ethan lunged, grabbing his arm and hauling him back. "Watch your step," Ethan said sharply. The river doesn't give second chances. The forest ahead grew darker, thicker, the air damp and heavy. A rustle in the undergrowth made everyone stop. Two glowing eyes appeared, low to the ground, watching them. The creature stepped forward. Large cat-like predator with muscles rippling under its fur. Its growl rolled through the air like thunder. The aliens backed away, fear flashing in their eyes. Ethan crouched, slowly pulling a burning stick from his pack-one he had lit earlier for safety. He waved it toward the predator, his gaze steady. The creature hissed, then slipped back into the shadows. "That was close," one alien whispered. Ethan's tone was calm. "On Earth, everything hunts. But not everything wants to fight." Hours passed, and the group's energy began to fade. The heat pressed down on them, sweat beading on their skin. One student stumbled, his breathing heavy. Ethan stopped the group, forcing them into the shade. "Drink water," he instructed. "Rest for 10 minutes. Then we keep moving." As they rested, distant clouds began to gather. The sky darkened, the wind shifting. "Storm." Ethan said immediately, "We need shelter now." The aliens scrambled after him as he led them to a cluster of large rocks forming a natural overhang. They arrived just as the rain began to fall. Within moments, the downpour turned heavy, the sound deafening. Lightning split the sky, thunder, booming so loudly it made the ground tremble. They huddled together, the air electric with the storm's power. "This is terrifying," one alien admitted. Ethan glanced at him. "And this is only a small storm." When the rain finally eased, they stepped back into the forest. The ground was slick, streams of water running down the slopes. They moved carefully. Following faint signs, Ethan pointed out broken twigs, scuffed earth, the distant hum of the ship's beacon. At last, as the sun dipped low, they emerged from the trees onto the muddy clearing where the ship waited. The instructor stood at the ramp, watching them approach. They were soaked, scratched, and exhausted, but alive. Ethan walked in last, scanning the group to make sure no one was missing. The instructor gave a slow nod. "You passed," he said simply. The aliens glanced at each other, realizing they had done something they once thought impossible. They had survived a day on the Deathworld. Ethan stepped past them toward the ship, his voice low but clear. "Remember, Earth doesn't care if you're brave or strong or smart. It only cares if you can survive." The journey back to the Galactic Academy was quiet. The alien students sat in their seats, staring out at the stars as Earth shrank behind them. Some looked relieved to be leaving, while others kept glancing back at the blue and green world, as if trying to hold on to what they had seen. Ethan sat near the middle, his eyes half closed, resting but still aware of everything around him. No one spoke for a long time. The hum of the engines was the only sound until the instructor finally broke the silence. "You have completed your first expedition to Earth," he said, his voice calm but proud. "You saw its dangers, its beauty, and its challenges." He paused, his many eyes moving over the students. "What have you learned?" The first to speak was a small winged alien. "At first, I thought humans were just lucky to survive there," she admitted. "But now I know it's not luck, it's skill. It's always watching, always moving, never giving up." Another student with scaled skin added, "I thought danger was something you could avoid. On my planet, you just stay away from it. But on Earth, danger finds you, you have to be ready." The instructor nodded slowly, then turned his gaze to Ethan. "You have been quiet," he said. "What do you think they should remember?" Ethan leaned forward slightly, his voice low but steady. "Earth doesn't forgive mistakes," he said. "Every storm, every predator, every step you take, it's a test. The planet pushes you until you break, and then it pushes harder." He looked at the group, his eyes steady. "That's why humans are the way we are. It's not because we want to fight everything. It's because everything fights us every day. The ship landed at the Academy's docking bay, the great silver towers shining under the twin suns. As they stepped out, alien students from other classes gathered around, curious. They expected stories of monsters and storms, and they got them. But what surprised them most was the change in the ones who had gone. The students walked differently now, their steps more certain, their eyes sharper. They no longer looked at Ethan with only fear, but with something else, respect. Later that day, the expedition group was invited to speak in the main hall. Hundreds of students filled the wide chamber, their voices echoing until the instructor called for silence. One by one, the alien students told their experiences. They spoke of the thick forests, the dangerous rivers, the roaring storms, and the predators with glowing eyes. They also spoke of how Ethan had guided them, not by carrying them, but by showing them how to carry themselves. A small alien with crystal-like skin stood in front of the crowd, her voice trembling at first. "Before we went to Earth, I thought it was just a place where everything wanted to kill you," she said. "And it is, but it's also a place where life never stops, where even the smallest creature is fighting to survive." She looked over at Ethan. "And humans. They are the ones who learned how to fight back and still find time to build, to explore, to care for each other." Ethan listened quietly, his expression unreadable. He had heard speeches like this before. People always had strong words after seeing Earth for the first time. But deep down, he knew most would never truly understand unless they lived there for years. Still, something about this group was different. They had seen enough to respect his world. And that was more than most. When the speeches ended, the instructor gave the final words. "This is why Earth is called a Deathworld," he said. "It is not just because it is dangerous. It is because it teaches those who live there to face danger without fear, to adapt, and to endure." His gaze swept the hall. "Strength is not given. It is earned, and on Earth, it is earned every single day." After the assembly, the alien students who had bet on the trip approached Ethan one by one. Some offered thanks, others simply nodded. One student, the same one who had nearly fallen from the cliff, said quietly, "If you ever go back, I'd like to see more." Ethan gave a small smile. "If you're ready for it." As the sun dipped behind the towers, casting long shadows across the academy, Ethan stood alone for a moment, looking out toward the stars. Earth was far away now, but it was never truly gone from him. It lived in the way he walked, in the way he thought, in the way he faced the world. And now maybe a few more in the galaxy understood why. Because Earth was more than a death world, it was a forge. And every human who survived it came out harder, sharper, and stronger than before. Asterisk.